I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's not enough to say it's nuts. You have to explain why it's so nuts. The invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed.
Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Dawn Lester. Be sure and check out my films, Doors of Perception on Amazon Prime, Occult Louisiana is on Tubi, Roku, Apple, and many more. We are booking guests for January. If you have suggestions or you'd like to be a guest, email me, forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Today I want to welcome back to the show Dawn Lester. She is a cancer survivor, author, and researcher looking into a variety of topics, including metaphysics and the nature of reality. Dawn, welcome back. How you doing?
Thank you for having me again. Yeah, no, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm excellent. It is great to have you back on. Last time we discussed your journey and research surrounding health and wellness. Today you wanted to take a look under reality's hood, discuss the mechanics of the Matrix. What is this strange realm? Why are we here? What's happening now? This has been the center of my journey for a long time, and knowing that I will probably never have all the answers, but maybe better questions and a more rewarding journey through this incarnation. But this leaves a lot to get to. Before we do, remind the audience just a little about yourself and let them know how they can find out more.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I mean, they're great topics. Yes, I am co-author, I suppose, mainly known for co-authoring What Really Makes You Ill, a rather large tome about the problems with the health system. I also co-authored a book about the nature of reality, which is another reason why it's something that I am still curious about, because again, it helps us to get a clearer idea of what this is all about. And as you say, the more we look, the more we find it leaves us with more questions, and it keeps opening up, which is exciting. It can unsettle some people. At the same time, I just find it exciting. So my journey has taken me kind of through health and also understanding that there's more to this physical being that we are, and that makes such a difference to how we approach life. And that's the point, that it's not that we're escaping the physical body to go off and be something else. It's understanding that we are that something else, and how we then live life, because spirituality isn't about being somewhere else. It's about recognizing how to be here in this realm, which is increasingly interesting and puzzling and exciting as well. I mean, it certainly doesn't work the way we've been told it works. And again, it's so much that's going on at the moment, lots of weird stuff that can be unsettling. At the same time, when you have an understanding of us being more than this physical being that we are, then we can say, okay, well, what can we do with this? And it's also about interpretation and how we see things. And there's a lot of fear mongering to keep us in a place where we're going down the wrong interpretations. And of course, knowing that how we think affects our experiences, because how we think translates into words, and we know, like, words as spells, and how we use our language and what we can do. And it's not to make people think, oh, I can't say anything. It's to say, well, okay, just be aware. And when you're aware, you think, oh, right, okay, I can shift how I see things. And, just using examples. I mean, just the simple one is whatever you say, I am something, you're giving that out as an instruction that your body can then kind of take on. And that's why it's important in the health side of things, which is one area I've gone down, that there's so many labels that people are given, the diagnoses. And again, I'm not giving health advice here. I don't. I'm sharing information. Usual disclaimer we have to throw out, but it's more the labels than people say, oh, I have, or I am, or my this, and they own it, and then not realizing that they're then taking that information. So I mean that's like an overview really, but I mean you can dive into so many parts of that, and really with the what's going on at the moment is being interpreted in various different ways, and some of them are more fear-based.
Yeah.
And I don't do that.
When trying to understand the nature of reality and what we're doing here, I've had so many different perspectives. I explore this pretty much every day with different individuals and guests that I've had on. And I'm blessed to be able to do that and get as many perspectives as I do. But as we said already, that just opens up more questions. I've heard everything from we are on a prison planet to a simulation to training ground of some sort. I do consider everything, and I enjoy hearing these different perspectives, but I think since this is such a big topic to explore, maybe we could start with, like you said, what's happening now, your understanding of what we've been going through, especially the past few years. People are becoming aware of things, asking more questions than ever. Where do you want to start there?
Well, I see what's going on as, and we have a mutual friend, Brandon Thomas, and I listened to his podcast episode with you a month ago, and I have a very similar view to him, that what is going on at the moment is actually to help us become more aware of who we are and what we can do, rather than scaring us. And this is where I think now it's not, I'm not just saying, to be love and light and ignore what's going on. It's not. It's that balance of, or that way of approaching and understanding what's going on, and it's being interpreted in various different ways, that there's a air quotes they who are in charge, and that immediately takes agency away from us in terms of how we live our lives. And that certainly was evident from the 2020 nonsense, because it was about encouraging people to do things based on something that just has been proven to be untrue, because that's where I've done a lot of research in that area. So whatever was going on, there wasn't a thing going around affecting people. There was nothing nasty, no invisible enemy. But a lot of people believed that and acted as if that was true, which, when you actually start looking at it, it isn't true, or hasn't been proven to be true. This whole idea of what these invisible enemies are. So that has, even though it did affect a lot of people in pretty serious ways, and I'm not denying that. Also, I'm not denying that people had symptoms. It's what it has done is it's helped us learn more, or help to share information to more people about what these symptoms really are, what illness really is, that it's not something that is bad and we have to stop because it's nasty. There's nasty stuff going around, that it's understanding what our bodies actually are. And in the same way as, in the bigger picture of what nature is, we're made to believe that nature is dangerous, and we've got to be fearful of it. Whereas and again, I'm still working through my ideas and my view now, which may change, or some parts of it may change, is that this is not a prison planet per se. It's a realm where we can learn to or learn how to have experiences through the five senses, through the touch, the sight, because that's these are filters in a way that allow us to have a particular type of experience through those five senses. Only it's not as limited as we've been made to believe, through science, that it's, the materialistic, reductionist, deterministic science. It's not, that those views are definitely not how this realm works, because once you start looking, there are huge holes, the idea that everything's made of these physical particles. So once you start looking down that particular path, which I have been doing as well, so it shows that this experience is not as fixed as we've been made to believe. Only that I, as I say, at the moment, I feel that nature, there's something natural about nature, if you like, that the trees grow up and, grow stronger, and plants grow, and, there are some natural cycles within life, that nature works through certain geometries. There are patterns within nature. So there are some principles. They're not as fixed as the rules we're made to think they are. The things are not as fixed. So it's that sense of opening up to what's possible, because there's more than, again, we've been led to believe that, this is how it works, these systems. So again, these systems are in place to make us think that's how it works. They are the only ways. And then, I mean, the typical, well, for me, they've got a best example is like the medical system. It's like, this is how it works. This is what health is. This is what you do. And that just, once you look at it properly, it all falls apart. That is not about health. That is not about healthcare. So we can say, no, that doesn't work. So what are our bodies? And there's a lot of new information coming out of that kind of dispels pretty much everything of what the medical system says. We're not even ruled by genes, those kinds of things. And, we're made of a lot of water, that water isn't the way we've been told. There's a lot of really fascinating work being done on how we can affect water, like the Vader Austin work, Masaru Emoto's work of, so again, this is where the language comes in. This is where sound, light, and, that we are energetic beings. We're not bags of chemicals. We are electrical beings, electromagnetic. We have a magnetic biofield, all these. Some people still think they're woo, only they are. There's a lot of. There's a building body of evidence that show that these ideas are more than just strange ideas. They are not pseudoscience, and it opens up for us to learn more about who we are. So this is what I'm saying, where things are at the moment is exciting and interesting, and it requires us to unlearn a lot of things that we think we know, and that can be the problem.
I think
for some
of the biggest things preventing people that still haven't been able to come to complete awareness that the systems are corrupt or that they're participating in something anti-human. Our perception, the collective perception, has obviously been hijacked to a certain degree. It's an amazing time right now because people are becoming aware of it, but there is an illusion of complete power that a lot of people seem to be placing on our ruling class. up to a point where they believe even the afterlife is hijacked and archons control our incarnation and we have to be recycled constantly as food for them. But I do think that's a very depressing and somewhat ridiculous concept. I won't be able to ever adopt that into my own view. I think there's much more to this life, but it's all based on illusion. They're masters of psychological manipulation. There are a few evil geniuses out there that have laid a foundation for global mind control that works until a certain point when it doesn't. And I think this is the point where it's stopping having that effect on the masses of the population. But for those that still are stuck in that, what would you tell them about those that believe that they do have ultimate power over everything?
Well, that's the psyop, isn't it, really? The psychological operation to encourage people to believe that they don't have agency, that they don't have any control. There's nothing they can do. We are just, tiny little blips in this whole system. And, what can one person do? Only this is where the real flip starts, because it's to understand that we actually have far more agency, far more power. And I mean, I don't mean power over, I mean power for ourselves to create our own experiences. And I know a lot of people use the phrase, create your own reality. And I think it's very general and it can be misunderstood. And we are certainly able to influence our own experiences. And one of the things is that each of us, we're all individual. Each of us is unique. And that makes things a little difficult because our experiences are different from other people's. So our experiences tend to be influenced by our beliefs. And as you say, if a lot of people are believing that there's nothing they can do, then they will do nothing, because that's the whole cycle of they're believing in that. Now, in terms of good point about the afterlife. Now, I've not taken a deep dive, but I find near-death experiences is a fascinating area, and I've started to look into them, looking more. Again, this is just another area I'm sort of dipping my toe in, because it's fascinating. Because people are recalling similar experiences in this realm that they kind of go to, if you like. And so there's an awful lot of overlap, and people say, oh yeah, but there are some other people who have a different experience, and that's true. And some people are met by certain personages, like either Buddha or Christ or something, and that wouldn't be surprising to me, because I then want to know what their belief system is, because even in that realm, people tend to have the experience that's based on their own belief system. So their religious beliefs, their spiritual beliefs, that will also coincide with, their experiences will coincide with their beliefs. So that to me shows that they're, even beyond this kind of physical experience, if you like, in this, in this realm, that it's still relative. It's not exactly the same experience, except there are enough similarities to show that there's something there, that there's something going on. Now, I can't know. I've not had an NDE, so I don't know. So I can't say from my personal experience, and so I can't say that I know. So again, this is where the kind of what we know and what we think we know, and where knowledge comes from, information, and how we filter it all. So it's it can get a bit muddy when you're kind of talking to other people when they've got different views. And especially, as I say, not having that experience myself, because, I suppose you could say in some ways, the only things we know are what we experience, except that's pretty limited. And, that can lead to all kinds of wrong interpretations. But I mean, if we have an experience, then that's something that, we know. And I know there are people who express certain experiences that they have, whether it's, out of body experiences, NDEs, contactees, just all the UFOs, different, all kinds of different experiences. So I would never dismiss anybody's experience, because that's what they've gone through. It's real for them. So again, this is where we get to the kind of what's real. And then in terms of how people can be manipulated, I mean, there are plenty of psychological experiments that have been done, through last century. There have been loads. A few of them are pretty well known. But to know that people can be encouraged, manipulated through either conformity, because they want to be like everyone else. It's a conformity experiments. There's the Milgram experience, where it shows the appeal to authority. I mean, it's a logical fallacy, but where people will do what they've been told by an authority figure. So there's a sense of how some people can be manipulated psychologically, only not everyone is exactly the same.
That brings up a question I've heard often, even come through this show, that many believe that our free will is being infringed upon to a point where some people, in a sense, don't have a chance since their incarnation because of the level of manipulation involved with that individual. And I've heard horror stories about what people have gone through, MK Ultra experimentation, born into abusive, psychotic families. And it also brings up the question, why would you choose to incarnate into something like that if you believe that we do have, in a sense, a choice of what we're going to be doing in this incarnation? So a lot of questions about the nature of that and free will come up when it comes to the level of manipulation we're exposed to. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a tough question again. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have the sense that we do choose our say general life path for this incarnation, for this experience. It does seem really harsh what some people go through, and it can sound really mean to say, oh well, you just chose it, and I don't mean to say it in that manner. It is, wow, it's more kind of, wow, you chose this, how amazing, how courageous, because it's, again, a lot of people who go through that MK Ultra and come out the other side and are then telling other people, they are amazing examples of how we can learn how we are being manipulated, and so they can help people realize what's going on and say, yeah, that this isn't right. And I think that's because of all these different systems. A lot of them are really highlighting that isn't right, that isn't how things, I don't like to say should, but it's not, it doesn't feel the way life could be. And so it's like, it's so wrong, it's bad, we've got to stop that, which is, again, the general sense of what I think what's going on at the moment. Everything is so loud, and it's also so crazy, so ridiculous. I mean, fortunately, a lot of it is just so crazy you just laugh at it, which which stops you from getting pulled into it and taking it seriously. And it's helping people see that it's wrong, and getting people to just say, whoa, no, this is not, this is not the kind of life I want. This is not what life is. And so those people who have those experiences, is to say, or as I say, wow, amazing, and thank you for that contribution to helping us see what is so wrong. Now, the people who seem to be in control of all of this, I don't like to use words that give them that give them my sort of energy, my power. So it's finding alternative ways of labeling them, and I'm not going to use all sorts of different labels. It's just where I am is I have called them the would-be controllers, because that's what they would like. They want to be.
We call them parasites around here. Maybe harsh. I think it fits.
Yeah. Yes. And it's more to put it in a way that they are, moving out of that role, because we don't want to hang on to them playing that role, because then that fixes that. So it's learning how to relanguage how we view everything, and again, interpretations. And this is also one of the I see one of the areas where in the, should we say, sort of truther, I don't think it's a movement as such, but in the kind of truther communities, a lot of people have certain ideas, and that's great. They have their belief systems and their ideas, and then they're having arguments with other people, and they're holding them as if they are true. Now, that they may be true at the time, it may not be the full story. So it's when they get stuck in those ideas that, and then there's a lot of clashing within, as I say, this sort of the community. And of course, that's not helping us kind of move forward when there's a lot of infighting. It's the divide and conquer. So my view is to suggest that people say, okay, I've got a slightly different view, but to have a conversation, recognize, well, I've got a slightly different view, and to see if there's any, or to see what the common ground is, and to recognize that we have different belief systems. Now, free will, that's a huge area, and there's some people who say we don't. I think to a certain extent we do. Now, because again, where I am at the moment, if we've chosen this particular journey for our life, this path, I don't think every moment is fixed. I think it's a question of a general kind of a general path, and along that path there are choices, and we can choose. Only the general direction is already there. So these are choices within the same direction. So we could kind of weave around it. But the path, this is my view at the moment. And it kind of ties in with astrology. If you follow that there are tendencies for each of us that depending on how the stars align, when we're born, and how things change, and the different sort of configurations and transits and different things that happen. And that there are some definite correlations with all of that. The opportunities that present themselves, and you think, wow, and synchronicities, and we call them coincidences. So there's a general path, and I think within that we have some choice.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
That's where I am at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because
I would agree with that. I believe to a certain degree we have a relatively large level of control over what we're doing here. And I understand that can be hard for many people who have faced a lot of trauma in their lives. But we're all just trying to figure out what the hell's going on here, and that's what we're doing. I want to explore some of the hidden layers of reality. You mentioned synchronicity. Earlier, you mentioned the astral realms, UFOs, paranormal, extraterrestrials, everything that entails high strangeness that we can experience here. I've had enough experiencers and people who have claimed to have been abducted to know that there is something very profound that occurs beyond our normal perception. What it is, I could not tell you. There are some profound overlaps in people's experiences, just like the near-death experiences. There's overlap between that and people's alien encounters and all kinds of metaphysical experiences that seem to have profound connections. To me, I do see altered states as an extremely strong connection between a lot of these experiences, people experiencing them in their dreams, some kind of altered state or under the effects of psychedelics, meditation. Things of this nature seem to be a strong trigger for these experiences. But again, there is Joe Schmo that is walking along the woods and gets abducted by a UFO and these other very high strange things that I can't make any correlations or really understand what's happening there, but it is beyond the realm of normal human experience. And I'd love to get your insights into what lies beyond our perception, what we're dealing with. If you have any thoughts about the nature of these intelligences, maybe if it's all the same thing presenting as something different, or if we're dealing with an ecosystem of beings.
I haven't had a kind of paranormal experience to say enough about how my perspective on that or my interpretation. So I only have information that I've gathered from other people and listening to like your podcast and people that have had these experiences, and there does seem to be again overlaps, certain experiences that people have that are similar. Now, like I say, there's more to us than this physical body. So there are other states of consciousness, and I kind of use that term as other states of consciousness, like in a dream. We generally tend to say, "Oh, I dream," as in thinking, "Oh, I don't have a dream," whereas as I've learning more and expanding kind of my understanding, I see it more as the another experience of, if you like, the greater self. I'm having one experience as me in this physical body, and the dreams are other experiences in another state of consciousness. Now, could those experiences of contactees and being abducted be something along those lines, depending on how they perceive the other entities that they're interacting with? I know there are some people who say there are evil entities here that are and I'm not denying that there are a lot of people doing some mean things, and I suppose it's where the starting point is. If I don't use the term God, I kind of refer to the divine, and then it's not a being, it's more an essence, if you like, of the ultimate creator. And again, even a creator sounds like a being. So, so we are all sparks of the divine is how I kind of see it. And so all experiences are relevant for the divine to learn how to, or to know what is possible, and all different types of, I'll say again, different experiences in different realms, in different ways and different forms, because again, the human form's only one of them. So
maybe like the source of consciousness.
Yes, yeah, definitely. So whether these people who have either contactee or contacting experiences, or have abduction, have that, is that something that they chose when they incarnated? I'm open to ideas at this point. I don't have fixed ideas, and where I am at the moment, I'd say maybe that's part of their choice of what to experience. Now, you could say, oh, they never expected that. Well, yes, and that's the point, that we don't know the path that we're on, so we have to have the ability to deal with whatever is in front of us at the time in the best way that we can. Because if we know what's going to happen, our interaction, our reaction, the way we respond will not be what you might call authentic. So the experience needs to be authentic. And so we don't know what's going to happen. So those kinds of situations, those events that people have, whether say abducted or contacted, or in the MK Ultra program, or any of these other types of not ordinary everyday life. I mean, do they choose them? They won't know. However, they help to inform the rest of us as to this realm not being the way we think it is, and again, how should we say, air quotes, aliens are interpreted, so that's up for question as well. I mean, one of the things I think, with the Mandela effect and how all sorts of things have changed, and you look at that and wonder how does that work when suddenly something that a lot of people thought was one way suddenly is now a different way. And I mean, my view on that is that shows how this reality is not as fixed as we think it is. Now a lot of people have slightly different interpretations. So it's just, I think these are ways of understanding there's more to it. Only, as I say, I can't speak from an actual experience, so that's why I'd have to take a very general view at the moment, and it's not an area I've gone into a lot of detail. I find it fascinating though, and I'm changing my view as I go along, because at one point there was aliens because they're out there on other planets and can attack the world, and of course that suits those who want to keep us in a state of fear. And the point of recognizing it as being slightly different, to say, well, no, we don't have to live in fear. And I think that's part of the unlearning. It's so many parts to all of that.
Well, speaking of not living in fear, one of the major things I believe we're going to have to navigate as humanity now and going into the future is technology and how we're utilizing it, and AI. But technology is rapidly evolving and changing, and we have to navigate through everything. Right now, I'm very frustrated about people utilizing AI in the wrong way. putting up fake videos for deceptive purposes, or they just want to get popular or get clicks online. It's very frustrating when most of the content that I see online is AI and fake videos and things trying to be presented as real that is in no way real. It's really difficult for those that work with video evidence these days of anything paranormal or UFOs or even normal things that occur in our lives that are being used in a deceptive way. It's very frustrating. But what are your thoughts on navigating rapidly evolving technology?
I'm pretty much similar to you. I recognize that it has its uses. I mean, we wouldn't be communicating if it wasn't for technology, and it is being abused as well and misused and used for all sorts of nefarious purposes. So, and AI can be the same. I am aware it can be helpful. I mean, I do occasionally use it for sort of research. I'm not relying on its responses, but to allow it to be I suppose, a really fast access.
I mean, if we're being honest, most of us rely on it to a certain degree.
Yeah, so like a search engine, it can gather a lot of information for me and provide me with the sources, the references. So it can be useful, and it's a question of helping people to understand how to use it effectively, and use it, recognize that AI is the tool. We are the creators. AI cannot create, no matter what people say. It is not creative. It's it doesn't have, it's not consciousness. It's not but in terms of being able to determine and, well, again, discern what we're seeing in videos, if you're looking at research and whether to trust what you're seeing, that's really tough. And that is getting harder. And there's a lot of fake material. And, again, as a writer, there are people who are using AI to write books, and trust me, they are atrocious. Yeah. I did actually read one, and it was just so obvious from the first page. It was awful, absolutely awful. So that's that hurts. And I know it's used in in the music industry, and I've got musician friends who that's challenging. Well, not challenging. I mean that's challenging their work. And so it is, I keep using the word discernment, but we need discernment to be able to actually decide what we want to support, what kind of work we want to support. At the same time, it does make us realize that we've got to start trusting ourselves and look at things properly. And not just be drawn into anything that we see. So, yes, frustrated. It is frustrating, and at the same time, it can be useful. So that's, I'd say, where I am. I know there's a lot of talk about transhumanism now. From my perspective, again my opinion, where I am is this human form is far more amazing. It's brilliant than it's underestimated is one way of putting it. And so we're made to think, it's just a bag of chemicals, and it can be fixed by this, that, and the other, and you just have a machine fix this, or you can have a machine put inside you, or whatever it is, and you can download your consciousness, and that's just so not in line with how the body actually functions, including the fact that the brain does not produce consciousness. Consciousness is not in the grey matter in our heads. And that is the basis of the idea that they can, if you like, download consciousness. They can't, because consciousness does not reside in the brain. Our thoughts, our emotions, our memories don't reside in our brain. And again, this is where we go into things like sound healing and the biofield, because a really good friend of mine, Eileen McKissick, if you know about her, she's the founder of Biofield Tuning. And it's like, I don't know, nearly 30 years ago, whether she started with working with tuning forks and recognizing that some people call it the aura, but we have a biofield that when tuning forks are used within that, they can find that there are blockages and different things that are so blockages that can then be attached to something within the body. So it can be a problem within the body that can be sensed within the field. So our who we are doesn't end at the end, our skin, our fingertips, our toes, our head. So who we are is beyond this physical skin. And that already takes us to being rather different from how we're made to feel. Because, we are electrical beings, not bags of chemicals.
Let's get deeper into our hidden human abilities. You mentioned earlier we are essentially made up of sound and light and capable of much more than our physical bodies would indicate that we are. Talk a little bit about some of the things that you've learned and are starting to uncover about the capabilities of what we are as humans.
Well, the abilities, things like synchronicities, things like telepathy, and if people have become more aware of what is, the telepathy tapes. I think it was a couple of years ago, or a few years ago, they came to the fore, and they are mainly about young people who are given a label of autistic. They call themselves autists, which is, that's fine. They, for the most part, are non-verbal, so their ability to communicate verbally is either limited or just non-existent. However, they can communicate telepathically, and those abilities are becoming more obvious with people who are, some people are able to communicate with them and have conversations, and there's so much that we're learning about that. At the same time, it's not they are special, only they can do it. They are showing us that we can all do that, because they are communicating with their family members in a way that they weren't, I don't want to use the word ordinary, but that, their parents are not trained in sort of telepathy, and yet they are recognizing that they can communicate with their children, and they can understand. And we can see that in the animal world as well. You can communicate. There's the work that Rupert Sheldrake has done, with what he calls morphic resonance, dogs who know when their owners are coming home, those kinds of things, the sense of being stared at. So these are abilities that they're not sort of something special that only some people have. These are abilities we all have, only we've been indoctrinated out of using them, and we haven't been encouraged to use them. And it's sometimes might take a little bit longer to get them back online, but that again could be ability. Some people say can take longer, and it's just, well, if we say, well, I can do it, and be open to then having the experience of it happening. So there are non-physical ways of communicating. You can get a sense of walking into a room as to, you know, other people's energies, you know, so becoming more sensitive to that. And I don't mean sensitive in a soft way, but in an awareness, you know, having your awareness. So not always thinking that we've got to use our senses. As I say, the five senses, they are useful to a certain extent, and to be more aware that there is more to us, and to have these to have opportunities to open up to that. So yes, I mean, light again is also, well, it's fundamental. I mean, I don't know if you've gone into that side of things, but the anyone who's looked into the original kind of, you know, how the germ theory started, you know, with Louis Pasteur, his contemporary was Professor Antoine Béchamp, also French, and he was a real scientist, and he was looking at, you know, different experiments and looking at matter, and he came to the conclusion that there is a fundamental living force, you know, that are, if you like light, little dots of light, and he called them microzymas. You know, it goes into the word. There was also other researchers that saw these light, these dots of light, and they gave them slightly different names. But so what, I mean, it is possible to see them with microscopes, and they're believed to be the, as I say, fundamental life force. That it is light. You know, there are some people who've shown videos of the actual moment of conception, where, you know, there's a burst of light. I've seen that recently. So if we're looking at different forms of energy, which is really what everything is. So again, with light and sound, and we know in the beginning of, you know, the Bible, the creation was through the word. So that sound and light are electromagnetic in you know, in their origin, just different frequencies of electromagnetism, and so they're frequencies, and it's not about higher or lower frequency, but just different frequencies along the spectrum. So this is more supportive evidence of everything being energy, if you like. So we are energy rather than chemical, even though I mean, to a certain extent there are chemicals. The more we're looking at that side of how the body actually works, you know, the idea of chemicals starts to fall apart, because there aren't atoms, you know, there aren't basic atoms in particles. You know, once you start looking into that scientifically, you realize that there's no evidence that everything is a particle, that in fact it's more wave to everything. You know, we're looking at waves, which are frequencies, which are energetic waves, and so different frequencies of the waves then become different. They manifest as different matter, different material. So the fundamental form of life, if you like, is energy. So knowing that then we know our body isn't a bag of chemicals, and we can influence our own body through the energy that we put into it or give to it, through the sound, through the words that we use. It starts to give us a really good idea of how we can really take back agency over our own body, our health, and what we're doing in life. And I think that's why the whole 2020 nonsense was good, that it started on the health, because it helps us bring that agency back to our own body, knowing that the fear is a particular type, I suppose, a type of frequency that is jarring for us. So that can be can be used to keep us in a way of not taking agency, so in fear, because that stops us from thinking and acting in a certain way. So it's
just seems just as reality has layers to peel through, so do we, as far as our connection to source, our health and wellness. The more we can shed the nonsense that doesn't benefit us, the anti-human systems, put natural things in our body, regain our connection, the more unhealthy layers we can shed away, which then gives way to some of those dormant abilities that we may not have had access to before. The more awareness people have, it seems, the more those layers start to shed away. At least that's been in my experience. And the better I feel, and so on and so on, and the more things I can become aware of, because it's not blocked by all the nonsense.
Oh yes, that's the key, to start to shed the layers of conditioning that stop us from recognizing who we are and what we can do. And so the more layers that we shed, the more open we are to new abilities, to trusting ourselves, to hearing our intuition, to start from that perspective. And it does open us up to asking more questions and realizing. I know a lot of people say quote that saying, the more I know, the more I know nothing. And it's not that we know nothing. The more I know, the more I realize there's a lot I still don't know. And which means there's a lot more to learn, which is exciting. And it is, again, the indoctrination is so clever that it makes people think, well, we need to know. They're uncomfortable with the uncertainty, and few people want to say, I don't know, and go, so what do you mean you don't know? It's there's to be comfortable with, I don't know that at the moment. I might look into that, but I haven't, so I don't know. And to say it's okay to say I don't know. That's what I'm saying. My ideas at the moment about certain things, they may change, because that's the thing, obviously, with wanting to know makes us, well, we've got to be right. And so when you're right, you then don't want to let go of that, because it makes you think you're wrong. Whereas it's, no, well, that's what I thought then, and I'm not so sure now, because here's some more information that makes me think, no, that doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah. Unfortunately, much of our scientific and even medical field holds that perspective that they have to be right, and they don't accept any new perspectives. They gatekeep the information. There's plenty of layers to that to peel through as well. That's a whole nother episode. But for the last few minutes, is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to share with the audience or close out on?
I like to help people recognize that, as you say, it's okay to say I don't know, and to recognize that, they may have some limiting beliefs about what life is, who they are, and it's, I don't know, we're certainly in strange times, where there are a lot of people thinking that having certain ideas, and to recognize that that's, as they're peeling back the layers, they may have, like with an onion, they may have shed the first couple of layers, but to say, well, maybe you haven't shed all of them, and so keep going. And it's not to say to always keep going, because I mean, there's something, we want to feel that we're on a certain place before we take the next step, because it can be overwhelming to keep going, keep adding more information. And at the same time, to recognize that you're not necessarily at a fixed place just because of where you are, because so many different ideas. So our beliefs can trap us into thinking we know something, but it's not just, it's that balance of, do I know, how do we know what we know? And I suppose, be open to questioning, keep asking questions, which is, like you say with the medical system, it's like not allowed to ask questions. Well, this is what happened in 2020 has shown us that, this is the time to ask questions. So yeah, keep asking questions, keep being curious, and to be aware of just how, incredible this experience is.
I think something important you said is to be okay with not having the answers and not knowing some of these things. It's all right.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's possibly one of the hardest parts, because, this whole indoctrination system they call schooling teaches children, you've got to know the right answer. And if, and you get told off for having the wrong answer, and you go, well, it's not about right and wrong. It's a question of where are you, what you think, and to say it's okay that you don't know, and to be absolutely comfortable with that, and know that, well, that's today. Next week, I may find the answer, but right now, and also to be open to learning, as you say, the being open allows all these other ideas to come in. Whereas if you're closed, you're not going to look at any other information. And so you're going to stay closed because you're not even open to something else. And that can close us off from all these other abilities. So, and it's harder. As I say, I know there's so much of what's going on that it is unsettling, and at the same time it is helping us to shed all our old ideas and to feel okay with shedding those old ideas, because I think at the beginning, once you start going down these different rabbit holes, people, it can be quite scary. You think, well, everything I thought I knew is wrong, and it leaves you very confused, and it can be really quite emotional, quite tough to think, well, I not to know anything, and what is this, and what's going on? It can be quite scary, which is probably the time to slow down with all the investigation. Yeah. And it's not necessary to go down every rabbit hole.
100%.
I think it's to choose what interests you, and to be curious, and to be open and curious, and not to think, oh, I've got to know this, I've got to look at this, I've got to find out. That pressure, that helps to build up the overwhelm, and then you just don't function at all. So, it can be tough, and it's learning to trust ourselves and be open to the wonder of the mystery, and stay okay with the mystery, and go, okay, some of these things will remain mysterious. There are some things we'll never know, I'm sure.
100%.
Do we need to know?
Nope, not necessarily. I think it's okay to be comfortable where you're at with your understanding of things, as long as you are doing what you feel you should be doing in your life and expressing empathy and love. I think that's all we really need to navigate through here. But Dawn, thank you so much. This was great information. Before I let you go, remind the audience how they can find out more about you.
Oh, right. Thank you. Yes. I suppose the vast majority of my work is on Substack. That's dawnlester.substack.com. It's under Dawn's writings, where I also have a podcast called Dawn of Discernment. So that's why I've used that word a couple of times. I am on Facebook. I am on Instagram. And I sort of, but Substack's the main place to find me, where I've been on there writing for that 3.5 years now. So quite a lot of articles, mainly on the topic of health. But that's because it's so important for people to understand how they're being made to be fearful of invisible enemies that have never been proven to make us ill. And, there are attempts to keep ramping up the fear-mongering with all sorts of other things that could be going on and other so-called pandemics and all the different things that they want us to use and be injected with that they just, they aren't what we've been told. So again, this is the confidence to take our agency back to ourselves. But as I say, that's where I am at the moment. I've got, kind of other ideas and different projects in the pipeline, but nothing concrete at the moment. And as for learning, I think if there's nothing new to learn, then what are we going to do with life? I think, as long as there's something new to keep learning, then there's, something exciting and there's something to, that's what this, I think, part of this experience is to learn and to grow and to develop and to evolve, to learn what we can do and to put it into action and to be. And as you say, the core energy is from love. So if you are working from with that fundamental energy, then what you're going to be putting out is going to be amazing.
Excellent. Dawn, thank you again. We will be doing this in the future. Love to talk more. And until next time, everyone, have a wonderful evening. We'll talk again tomorrow. We'll see y'all then. Hello, friends. I am so excited to tell you about Independent Media Token. Independent Media Token is a brand new way to show your support for independent media without having to donate a dime. Independent Media Token is a cryptocurrency on the Solana blockchain designed to generate funds to promote and foster the growth of independent content creators, allowing them to engage in their art without having to worry about being demonetized. Through a network of media partners, of which you yourself can become a part of, Independent Media Token's goal is to ensure the powers that be can never cut off all of our areas of funding and censor the only free voices left in the world. Join the movement today. You can pick up Independent Media Token using Phantom Wallet or the Solana wallet of your choice, where you can easily swap your Solana for IMT. Grab some IMT today and remember to always know your team. To learn more, visit independentmediatoken.com or use the link right in the description. Are you and your family prepared for an emergency? Maybe the fake alien invasion? Now is the time to prepare yourself and your family for any event. Check out Prep Starts Now. Their mission is to provide high-quality preparedness products that empower individuals and families to be ready for any situation. They're committed to delivering reliable, trusted gear to ensure your safety, security, and peace of mind in times of need. Their product selection is carefully curated to provide you with the essential gear you need to stay prepared. From emergency kits to tactical tools, every item is chosen for its reliability and practicality. Prep Starts Now understands the importance of family, and their goal is to equip you with everything you need to build a solid plan for your family's preparedness. In today's ever-changing world, being prepared is more important than ever, and Prep Starts Now is here to help you and your family stay ready with quality products and practical guidance. Use the link in the description and get 15% off your order. If you're looking to start your therapeutic microdosing journey, but don't know where to start, especially when looking for the highest quality ingredients, including nootropics, and what you'd expect from a true microdose capsule, check out our friends at Brainsupreme. They offer the absolute highest quality ingredients so you can start your microdosing journey knowing that you're getting top-notch ingredients. To find out more, visit their website using that link right in the description, and you can get 15% off your entire order.